The night before my wedding, my fiancé Ethan Walker suddenly brought home his childhood sweetheart, his so-called first love, Lily Evans. Without even talking to me about it, Ethan decided on his own to let Lily move into the new house we had prepared for our marriage. He even told me that from now on he would have to take care of her and wouldn't have time to help me plan the wedding. Trying to stay calm and understanding, I gently said to him, "If you don't have time for the wedding, maybe we should just call it off for now." Before Ethan could respond, I went straight to his boss, took back our marriage application, tore it into pieces, and threw it down the drain. I had suffered enough from loving Ethan in my past life. In this life, I would never marry him again. Later, when Ethan came to me, wanting to get married after all, I looked at him calmly and said, "I'm getting married soon." The groom was none other than his superior. "Haley, I'm afraid I can't help you with the wedding anymore," Ethan said. "Lily's condition right now, she needs me by her side at all times. You'll have to handle everything on your own." A moment ago, I had been struggling in the icy river, feeling despair and the chill of death. The next second, I heard Ethan's voice. I stared at him blankly until he repeated himself, and that's when I realized what had happened. I had been reborn. Reborn to the moment when Ethan came to discuss taking care of his childhood sweetheart, Lily Evans, and asked me to plan the wedding alone. In my previous life, it was half a month before our wedding when Ethan brought Lily home. Without my knowledge or consent, he had already moved her into our new house, and only afterward did he come to me, claiming he wanted to discuss it. But it wasn't a discussion at all. He had already made the decision. He was only informing me. Ethan told me that Lily had gone through something unspeakable, that she suffered from severe psychological trauma, and that only he could comfort her. He said her family had once helped him, and to repay their kindness, he had to help Lily recover. Back then, I loved Ethan deeply and believed every word he said. Out of sympathy, I agreed to help him take care of Lily and support her recovery. But Lily couldn't live without Ethan. She needed him constantly by her side. So I ended up preparing the entire wedding by myself. On the day of our wedding, Lily suddenly had a relapse and fainted right there at the ceremony. Ethan dropped everything, including me, and rushed her to the hospital in his arms. He never came back. I was left alone in front of all the guests, forcing a smile and struggling to finish the ceremony by myself. At first, I thought Lily fainting at our wedding was just a coincidence. I never imagined that her episodes would become more frequent and more absurd. She would have an attack right outside our bedroom door, just as Ethan and I were about to consummate our marriage. She would scream in the middle of the night, saying she was scared, and call Ethan to her side, leaving me, his wife, alone. Ethan spent all of our savings on his childhood sweetheart. He followed her around day and night, completely ignoring me. It broke my heart, but because I loved him, I endured it all in silence. I kept believing that once Lily got better, Ethan and I would return to the loving relationship we once had. But I was completely wrong. 2 years after our marriage, I became pregnant. 3 months into my pregnancy, Lily pretended to have another attack and pushed me down the attic stairs. I lost the baby. And my husband? He didn't have time to comfort me. He was too busy staying by Lily Evans's side because she was having another episode. I couldn't understand why Ethan Walker could be so cold and heartless toward me, until later, when Lily Evans told me the truth. Lily said she and Ethan had been lovers since childhood, only separated because of various circumstances. Now, they had rekindled their old feelings and planned to be together again. She told me she had never been sick at all, that everything had been an act, just to make Ethan stay by her side. It was like a bolt of lightning from a clear sky. I couldn't accept it, so I went to Ethan and told him the truth, that Lily had been faking her illness, and asked him to make a choice, to send her away. But Ethan refused. Lily then pretended to attempt suicide and framed me for it, ruining my reputation. Ethan chose to believe her. He said I was the one who drove her to suicide, that I was vile and unworthy of being his wife. To protect Lily from being bullied by me, he heartlessly sent me away to the countryside as punishment. The endless hard labor there nearly broke me. Every day I faced all kinds of humiliation and abuse. Eventually, on one freezing winter night, I slipped and fell into the icy river, never to see the next sunrise again. When I realized I had been given a second chance, I didn't make the same mistake as before. This time, I didn't agree to take on all the wedding preparations by myself. Instead, I told Ethan calmly, "I've been really busy with work lately, and I don't have time to plan the wedding." Ethan looked at me, stunned. "Then what are we going to do about the wedding?" he asked. In my previous life, I couldn't see through this man. I thought he loved me the way I loved him. Because of that so-called love, I built a beautiful illusion for myself, one that I sank deeper and deeper into. I handled everything for our wedding, while Ethan never put in a single bit of effort. I was such a fool. For love, I ruined my own life. But now that I had the chance to start over, I would make things right, one by one. The first thing I needed to do was break off the engagement with Ethan Walker. There would be no wedding. I said indifferently, "If it really doesn't work out, then let's just postpone the wedding." Postpone it? Ethan looked at me in disbelief. He knew better than anyone how much I'd once wanted to marry him. Before Lily Evans showed up, I had been counting the days, waiting eagerly to become his wife. Now that I was the one suggesting a delay, Ethan was clearly shocked. He hesitated, then asked carefully, "Haley, are you mad at me?" "I'm not mad," I said evenly. Ethan didn't believe me. He was convinced I was angry because he had been taking care of Lily. For the first time, he actually tried to explain himself. "Haley, I owe Lily's family too much. I have to help her. I'm only doing this to repay her kindness. The one I love is you." In my past life, I believed his lies, and it cost me my life. But this time, his words stirred nothing in me. I just smiled gently and said, "I know you're kind-hearted, and I know you're only helping her out of gratitude. Since Miss Evans gets sick whenever you're not around, you should go take care of her so nothing happens." Ethan wanted to say more, but I lightly pushed him toward the door. "I just remembered I have to go to the office for something," I said. He opened his mouth but had nothing left to say, and finally left, looking helpless. Once I got him out of the house, I went straight to the military office where Ethan worked. It had been a week since our marriage application was submitted. I had to find a way to retrieve and destroy our marriage application. This time, I would never marry Ethan Walker. Getting the marriage application back was a nerve-wracking process. I tracked down the clerk who had handled our paperwork before, and using a mistake in the information as an excuse, asked him to help me get it back. The clerk told me that the marriage report had already been sent to Ethan's superior for approval. Based on the timeline, his superior had probably already signed off on it. My heart skipped a beat, and a cold sweat broke out down my spine. Military marriages weren't a trivial matter. They were legally binding. If our application had already been approved, I would have no way to undo the marriage. Swallowing my pride, I pleaded with the clerk, saying every nice word I could think of, nearly getting on my knees. Finally, he agreed to check and see if there was any way to retrieve it. While he went to make inquiries, I was as anxious as an ant on a hot pan, pacing back and forth. After about half an hour, he finally returned, holding the application in his hand. When he handed me the document, I thanked him over and over, then left quickly. On my way back, I found a quiet, empty spot, tore the marriage report into tiny pieces, and threw them into the drain. With that done, the marriage issue was finally settled. The next thing I needed to do was start cutting all ties with Ethan Walker. Without stopping to rest, I hurried straight to the house that was supposed to be our marital home. I pushed open the door. No one was in the living room, so I went straight to the master bedroom. As soon as I opened the door, I saw someone lying on the bed. I didn't even need to look twice to know it was Lily Evans. The house had been assigned to Ethan by the military, but everything inside, all the wedding items, had been bought by me. I still remembered clearly. In my previous life, when Ethan brought Lily back, she moved right into that very house. She used everything I had bought for our wedding without a second thought. Even the wedding bed, and the new bedding meant for Ethan and me, she used them first, without my permission. Back then, Ethan had told me very clearly that Lily would only be staying in the guest room, that she wouldn't touch anything in the master bedroom. I hadn't been happy about another woman staying in our marital home, But knowing Lily's poor health and pitiful background, I forced myself to swallow my resentment. The first time I met her, I even went out of my way to buy 2 pounds of ribs and made soup for her, bringing it to the house as a gesture of goodwill. But when I arrived, I found her lying comfortably on the very bed that was meant for Ethan and me. I had been so shocked that my whole body trembled with anger. I asked her why she was lying on our wedding bed. Lily didn't answer. Instead, she pretended to be startled, suddenly clutching her chest and foaming at the mouth, ruining the wedding sheets I had prepared. When Ethan rushed in, the first thing he did was scoop her up into his arms, comforting her. Then he turned on me, claiming that Lily's attack was my fault, that I had frightened her. In my past life, I never realized that Lily had done it all on purpose. But this time, I was ready. I wanted to see how she would perform her little act again. As soon as she heard the door open, Lily sat up in bed and looked straight at me calmly. I stared back without anger or emotion. Deep inside, I saw it clearly. There was a flicker of triumph and mockery in her eyes. "Who are you?" I asked coldly. "And who gave you permission to sleep on my wedding bed?" Just as in the last life, before I could even finish my question, Lily suddenly clutched her chest again and began to foam at the mouth. In my previous life, that had terrified me. As a doctor, I had immediately rushed forward, panicked, to try to save her. In my past life, I had rushed forward to save Lily Evans. But this time, I didn't move to help her. I grabbed a handful of her hair and yanked her hard off the bed. When Lily saw me charging toward her, she thought I was coming to give her medical aid. She didn't guard against me at all, and kept pretending to foam at the mouth. It wasn't until I dragged her by the hair and slammed her hard against the cabinet that she realized what I was actually doing. Lily let out a cry of pain and stopped pretending, trying to fight back. But she had miscalculated completely and was no match for me. The humiliation and hatred I had swallowed in my past life surged up all at once. I gripped her hair tighter and slammed her again and again into the cabinet. Lily was smaller than me and completely overpowered. Within seconds, she was dazed and staggering, crying out in pain and clawing desperately at me. Her nails scratched my hands, drawing blood, but I didn't care. I had no intention of letting go. The pain, the humiliation, the lies she had forced me to endure last time, none of it would be washed away so easily. I kept going, hitting her again and again until finally Lily went limp and passed out. Only when I was sure she was unconscious did I release her. She collapsed weakly to the floor. I looked down at her coldly, a faint, bitter smile curling on my lips. Then, without hesitation, I stripped her clothes off completely, leaving her naked on the floor. After that, I walked out of the bedroom and shouted loudly, "Help! Somebody, please help! There's someone in my house having a mental breakdown." Hearing my call, neighbors from all directions rushed over. When they saw Lily Evans, completely naked, she was quickly carried downstairs and sent to the hospital. I followed along, keeping my expression perfectly composed. On the way there, I vividly described to the neighbors how Lily had supposedly fallen ill. I told them that when I opened the door, I found her lying naked on the bed in my master bedroom, foaming at the mouth, banging her head against the wall over and over. I even mentioned that Ethan had told me she wasn't right in the head and was undergoing psychological treatment. I only added a few extra details to make the story sound more dramatic. When the neighbors heard that a single woman had been placed by Ethan Walker in the home meant for his future wife, and that she'd been found lying completely naked on their wedding bed, their expressions changed instantly. I could feel the way they looked at me, their eyes filled with disbelief, as if I were telling them something too scandalous to be true. But that was exactly what I wanted. My carefully embroidered story had already taken effect. In my past life, I had never exposed what Lily had done. No one ever knew she had lived in the house meant for Ethan and me. But this time, I was putting it all out in the open. Ethan's beloved childhood sweetheart, naked and lying on the marriage bed he and I had prepared. What a story that would be. I knew it wouldn't take more than 2 hours before the entire area within 10 miles would be buzzing with gossip. And by the time the story spread, there would be dozens of versions, each one even more scandalous than the last. After all, What decent woman would lie naked on another couple's wedding bed? And what kind of man about to be married would move another young woman into his marital home? Soon, everyone would be whispering about Ethan Walker and Lily Evans, their names turning into the juiciest gossip of the neighborhood. But this was only the first step. I had suffered so much in my previous life, I intended to take back everything she had cost me, with interest. When Ethan finally heard the news and rushed to the hospital, Lily was still unconscious. The moment he saw me, he shouted, "What happened? Lily was fine, why is she unconscious now?" I kept my expression calm. Miss Evans might have had another episode. When I got home, she was completely naked, banging her head against the cabinet, foaming at the mouth, and then she attacked me. I raised my scratched hand for him to see. Look at this. I was terrified. I just tried to stop her, but she wouldn't listen. You can see how she clawed me. Ethan froze, staring at the marks on my hand in shock. She harmed himself and attacked me. Yes, when she has an episode it's terrifying. She was naked, self-harming, and she attacked me. I was scared to death. Before I could finish, Lily woke up and started screaming inside. Ethan, worried about her, rushed in to see what was happening. I heard Lily crying to Ethan, "She hit me. I only meant to talk to her, but she went crazy and attacked me. My face is ruined." Her fury was obvious. She wailed pitifully to Ethan, accusing me of barging in without reason, beating her, and even trying to kill her. All of it poured out of her mouth like the truth, but Ethan didn't believe her. After all, everyone knew I had a temper, but why would I attack her for no reason? Ethan had always believed Lily really was sick, so he assumed all of this was a hallucination caused by her episode. He soothed her in a gentle voice, trying to calm her down. Lily continued to sob and make a scene until Ethan finally promised to punish me, the supposed aggressor, and only then did she quiet down. When the performance was essentially over, I didn't linger at the hospital. I went straight back to my dorm. Lily's stunt had become a huge scandal. People kept asking me about it along the way, and I explained the situation to anyone who stopped me, spreading the story of Ethan and Lily wide and far. By the time Ethan had a moment to find me, he discovered that everyone was looking at him differently. He still hadn't noticed something was wrong. His first concern was still Lily. "Haley, please be more tolerant. Don't take this personally. She's unwell right now," he urged. "Why would I quarrel with a patient?" I asked. But I saw her behavior. She's violent and self-harming. As a doctor, I recommend she get a full examination. "Where would we have her examined?" Ethan asked in return. "Should we send her to a psychiatric center for a checkup?" Of course Ethan refused. "She's not mentally ill, she was hurt and has after effects," he insisted. "Well, that's good if it's not mental illness," I said. "But what just happened was terrifying. I'm worried it might happen again. We need to take precautions. One time dealing with Lily won't be enough." After all, in my last life I was tormented for 3 months before I fell into the river and drowned. I intended to reclaim every bit of the suffering she cost me, with interest. Seeing that I was calm and not arguing, Ethan then made an unreasonable request. "Haley," he said, avoiding my eyes with a look of guilt, "Lily's episode has scrambled her perception. She truly believes you attacked her. She's extremely unstable right now. Why don't you go apologize to her and admit you were wrong, just to soothe her emotions?" I stared at Ethan steadily. He looked a little ashamed and finally looked away. "Haley, do this for me. Bear with her for my sake. We're husband and wife after all." The words made me sick. I cut him off. "So you just want me to apologize? Fine, I'll go apologize." When I agreed without hesitation, Ethan breathed a sigh of relief. Then, as if thinking of everything, he added, "Haley, she's mentally unstable at the moment. She might say hurtful things to you or even give you nasty orders. If she crosses the line, please tolerate it for my sake." "I'm begging you," Ethan said. I looked at him, his face drained of color, and felt ice cold all the way through. How could I have ever loved something like this? In my last life, I truly died without justice. If he could be so devoted to Lily Evans, how could I possibly tear them apart? No matter what, I had to lock them together and make sure they couldn't be happy. So I agreed to Ethan's request to go to the hospital and apologize to Lily, and I asked him to come with me. Ethan followed me to the hospital entrance, but was pulled away for an urgent task. Before he left, he kept pleading with me, "Haley, you must tolerate her. Don't provoke Lily under any circumstances." I obediently agreed, watched Ethan disappear, and then hurried into the hospital building. Inside the ward, Lily's head was bandaged tight. She sat propped against the headboard. When she heard the door open, she turned, and seeing me, her eyes filled with hatred. "Haley," she hissed, "you're finally here." I closed the door behind me, walked to her, and said, "Ethan sent me to apologize. What kind of apology do you want?" Lily stared at me as if she'd caught my weakness. "Why did you hit me? Didn't you deserve it?" I looked down at her from above. She had entered my marital bedroom without permission, had the nerve to lie on the bed meant for our marriage, and had used everything I bought for our wedding. I said, "I hit you to remind you of some manners." Lily trembled with anger. "Haley, you bitch, this isn't over between us. If you want me to forgive you, you have to kneel and apologize. Just kneel and it'll be fine." I smiled. Lily thought she had me trapped. "Of course, that's not all," she said, about to list more demands, but I cut her off. "I already heard everything from Ethan. He told me you're ill and that only he can soothe you. I studied medicine. Never once have I heard of a condition like yours. Are you sure you're not faking it to use as an excuse to steal someone else's man?" Lily's expression froze. Her act was so secret. How could I have known? I stared at her and dropped the bomb. "I know you wanted to hook up with Ethan. You saw him promoted and wanted to marry him, so you came up with this fake illness to get close to him. Ethan must be insane to believe you. Do you think I won't teach you a lesson for being such a disgusting thing?" Lily didn't expect me to expose her. Still stunned at being discovered, she hadn't a chance to react before I grabbed her hair and slapped her, hard and fast, across the face. She had thought I'd come to apologize. She never dreamed I knew she was faking and had come to hit her. I kept slapping her, a dozen times, then dragged her off the bed and kicked her viciously several times. Her face contorted in pain as she screamed hoarsely, "Someone help! Haley is attacking me! Help!" I kicked her again, then, hearing footsteps in the corridor, I stopped just in time and ran out of the ward, colliding with a nurse who had come in response to Lily's cries. "The patient's having another episode. She's hurting herself again. And she attacked me too." When I ran out of the ward, one of my shirt buttons had been torn off, my hair tie had snapped, and my hair was a complete mess. My clothes were ripped, my face flushed. Anyone who looked could tell I'd been attacked. One of the nurses who knew me rushed over. "Dr. Haley, are you okay?" "She hit me several times," I said, panting. "Good thing I ran fast. You need to sedate her, quickly." No one would ever believe that I had attacked a patient like Lily Evans. Several nurses rushed into the ward, pinned down the hysterical Lily, who was screaming like a banshee, and gave her a sedative. Soon, Lily went limp and passed out. The nurses all let out a sigh of relief. "Dr. Haley, why did that patient attack you?" one nurse asked. "I have no idea," I said, shaking my head. "My fiancé told me she was sick and needed comfort. He asked me to come apologize to her." "Apologize? Why?" Another nurse frowned. "She's convinced that I attacked her first," I explained. "She won't admit she's been hurting herself and lashing out. She told my fiancé she wanted me to kneel and apologize, or she'd kill herself." "What? What kind of illness is that?" one nurse exclaimed. "I don't know either," I said softly. "So, following my fiancé's request, I came to apologize. I was about to kneel when she suddenly went crazy. It scared me half to death." "That's terrifying. But why does she only lash out at you?" Another nurse asked curiously. I sighed, wearing an awkward and troubled look. "I'll tell you," I whispered, lowering my voice. "But please, don't repeat this to anyone." All the nurses nodded eagerly. "She said," I continued, "that she and my fiancé used to be lovers. They were supposed to get married, but something happened and they were forced to separate. Then she married another man who abused her. My fiancé took pity on her, so he brought her here to take care of her." The nurses' eyes widened first, then their expressions shifted to pity as they looked at me. After all, it wasn't my fault. My fiancé had brought his ex-girlfriend to live under our roof, and now that same ex only attacked me. His current fiancé. And even worse, my fiancé had asked me to apologize to her. I left the hospital under the sympathetic stares of the young nurses. "They say 3 women can make a whole drama. And now, the gossip about Ethan Walker and Lily Evans would spread like wildfire. By the time Ethan got back, he'd be walking into a very, very big surprise. Ethan returned 3 days later. Without even catching his breath, he rushed straight to the hospital to see Lily. Her face was still swollen like a balloon from the beating, the bruises not yet faded. The moment she saw him, she started crying again, accusing me of hitting her. At first, Ethan didn't believe her. But then Lily told him, "Haley's been spreading rumors everywhere, saying you and I have an inappropriate relationship. Even the nurses giving me IVs are gossiping, calling me a homewrecker who's ruining your engagement. It's humiliating. I can't live like this." Seeing Lily sob and threaten despair, Ethan's heart ached with guilt and pity. He still didn't want to believe her, but the emotion in her words, coupled with the strange, judgmental looks from the doctors and nurses he passed in the hallway, began to shake his faith. Doubt took root. He had to hear it from me directly. So Ethan stormed out of Lily's room, heading straight for my office. He pushed open the door just as I was treating a patient. His face was dark, his expression hard. I looked up at him in surprise and said calmly, "You're back. I need to talk to you." "Talk? Can't you see I'm busy? Save it until I get off work." My tone was sharp. All this time I had been gentle and compliant with Ethan Walker. I had never once spoken harshly to him. He wasn't used to me suddenly being cold and fierce. "Haley, I told you to go apologize to Lily. What did you do?" Ethan pressed. I sneered. "Apologize for what? I did nothing wrong. Why should I apologize? Didn't you agree to this? Why are you changing your mind? Why are you siding with Lily? Her face is bruised from you hitting her." I shouted, "Ethan, what do you mean? This is ridiculous. You brought a stranger into our marital home, let her mistreat me, and now you want me to apologize? What kind of apology do you expect?" As I raised my voice, Ethan's face went stone cold. "So Lily was telling the truth? You really have been spreading rumors about us?" he accused. "Haley, you've disappointed me." "Disappointed?" I snapped. "You have the nerve to say disappointed? Who should be disappointed here, me? You brought your ex-girlfriend into our wedding home without so much as a heads up, and put me in an embarrassing position, and you indulge her when she attacks me. I haven't even given you trouble yet." I pressed him. "Ethan, what exactly is your relationship with Lily? Did you two ever date? Were you going to marry? Answer me." I attacked him with questions until his face went dark as burned metal. To have such a scene in front of so many people, where would he hide his face? The patients in the office were watching us like it was a spectacle, and his shame flared into rage. He shoved the bystanders out and slammed the door shut, but that didn't stop him from scolding me sharply. "So all those rumors outside are your doing? Haley, you've let me down. You must explain this to me, or don't blame me." His threat hung in the air. "What are you going to do?" I snapped back. "If you want to break up with me for Lily, fine, but if you don't clear this up, our engagement is off." As soon as Ethan finished speaking, I raised my hand and slapped him across the face. The sharp smack left 5 clear fingerprints on his cheek. He froze, never having imagined I would strike him. After that first slap, I swung with my other hand as well, aiming to make it even. Ethan reacted fast, blocking and grabbing my wrist. It was a pity my second slap didn't land, but the shock of my aggression, gentle me turning into an accuser and an assailant, pushed him to the edge. He hissed angrily, "Haley, are you crazy?" I didn't answer. When Ethan seized my hand, I kicked up suddenly and drove my foot into his groin. He was still reeling from my sudden fury. The kick hit true. His face went ashen and he let go of my hand in pain. I clutched my head and screamed, pulled the door open and ran out shouting, "He hit me! Help! Ethan hit me!" I bolted down the corridor like a frightened rabbit and vanished from sight. Ethan stood there, face deathly pale, limping as he tried to walk out of the office while bearing the sharp, searing pain. Out in the corridor, a crowd had already gathered, buzzing with gossip. How could he hit someone? Unbelievable, a man hitting a woman. Dr. Haley is such a good person. How could he do that to her? I heard it was all because of another woman. Yeah, apparently he brought some woman to live in the house he and Dr. Haley were supposed to get married in. That woman even slept in their wedding bed, pretended to be mentally unstable, and attacked Dr. Haley, then had the nerve to demand that Dr. Haley apologize to her. Outrageous. Absolutely disgraceful. You don't even know the half of it. That woman's still in the hospital. Last time Dr. Haley went to see her to apologize, she attacked her again. If we hadn't arrived in time, who knows what might have happened to Dr. Haley. The murmurs reached Ethan Walker's ears, and his anger burned hotter. "What are you all standing around for? Move," he barked. The crowd scattered like frightened birds. Ethan's chest heaved with frustration. He couldn't understand how I had suddenly changed, how I could question him so harshly, even hit him. People say you never strike someone in the face, yet I had slapped him twice and kicked him in his most vulnerable spot. The more he thought about it, the angrier he became. Hearing the commotion, Evans came out of her ward to see what was happening. She had only heard that Ethan had supposedly hit me. She didn't know the details, but just hearing that he'd laid a hand on me made her secretly delighted. Her face was still puffy from the bruises I'd left, but she hurried toward Ethan with a pitiful look, gently calling, "Ethan, are you okay?" As she leaned close to him, acting tender and fragile, the people nearby began murmuring again. "So that's the other woman? Look at how she's clinging to him, so shameless. She's really doing that in front of everyone? What kind of man lets a woman act like that in public?" The whispers made Lily freeze mid-motion, embarrassment flickering across her face. Ethan, on the other hand, felt both mortified and furious. Damn it, he thought, how are these rumors getting worse by the minute? He needed to find me, to make me explain, to clear up the gossip before it ruined him. If things got out of control, it could jeopardize his entire career. Meanwhile, after fleeing the hospital, I found a quiet place to hide. I knew Ethan would come looking for me soon. He must have already heard the gossip spreading through the hospital. Rumors could destroy a person, and Ethan could never allow any stain to appear on his spotless image. After all, he wanted a promotion. He wanted to climb higher. In my previous life, Lily had framed me, claiming I had slandered her and Ethan's innocent relationship. She had staged a suicide attempt that caused a massive scandal. To silence the rumors, Ethan hadn't sent her away. Instead, he had turned on me, his own wife, the one who shared his bed. He had shifted all the blame onto me, convincing everyone that I was malicious, jealous, and dishonest. They believed I had made everything up, that I was morally corrupt. In the end, I was reprimanded, suspended from my job, and disgraced. Afraid that my tarnished reputation would harm his promotion, Ethan had personally sent me away to the countryside to reform through labor. But this time, things were different. Now that the rumors had started again, dangerous ones that could hurt his career, I knew exactly what Ethan would do. To protect his position, he'd be willing to sacrifice me all over again. He would try to find me, to persuade me, to make me stand up and clear his name. But there was no way I would stumble in the same place twice. Not this time. I had been reborn, and I remembered every ounce of humiliation and pain from before. This time, I would repay every debt, every betrayal, and I would never forgive Ethan Walker and Lily Evans, the two who started it all. The suffering I endured in my past life, I would make sure Ethan Walker and Lily Evans tasted it too. Only then would it be fair. That was why I couldn't let Ethan find me now. I had to hide well and wait for the perfect moment. To deliver them a gift they would never forget. Ethan searched for me everywhere. He asked everyone who knew me, even went to my dorm. But by nightfall, he still hadn't found me. He waited outside my dorm until after 10, but when I didn't return, a thought struck him. The wedding house. His gut told him that's where I might be hiding. Without a second's hesitation, he rushed there. From a distance, he saw the faint glow of light in the window and immediately assumed I was inside. Fuming, he shoved the door open. "Haley." The words froze on his tongue when he saw who was actually inside. Lily Evans sat there, her face covered in bruises. "You? Why are you back from the hospital?" he asked, startled. Tears welled up in Lily's eyes. "I couldn't stay there anymore," she said, her voice trembling. "Everyone in the hospital was talking about me, saying awful things. They were all pointing fingers. I just couldn't take it anymore, Ethan. I really couldn't." Ethan's anger faltered. Seeing her so pitiful tugged at his heart. "Have you eaten?" he asked gently. "No," Lily sniffled. "I was too worried about you. I don't know anyone here, and I didn't know where else to go. So I came back to wait for you." Did you find Haley? No, Ethan sighed, running a hand through his hair. I don't know where she's hiding. He slumped down into a chair, exhaustion written all over his face. The day's chaos had completely thrown him off balance. As he searched for me, he couldn't make sense of what had happened, why I had suddenly changed. Haley had always been gentle, understanding, and devoted to him. How could she suddenly become so distant, so sharp? Why had she yelled at him, even hit him? He just couldn't comprehend it. He was sure that he and Lily were innocent, that there was nothing inappropriate between them. So why did I think there was something going on? And why was everyone outside gossiping that he and Lily had once been together? Come to think of it, only he and Lily knew the truth about their past. He had never told anyone else. So how had the rumor gotten out? Ethan frowned deeply, glancing at Lily's swollen face. Everything had started to change the moment he brought her back. Could it be that Lily had done something behind his back? The thought flickered in his mind, but he quickly brushed it away. Lily was so fragile, so pitiful, so sick. How could he suspect her of such a thing? Still, if neither of them had spoken, then who had spread the story? Only two people knew the truth, him and Lily. He hadn't said a word, which left only one possibility. He turned to her. Lily, he said seriously, about what happened between us, did you tell anyone? Lily shook her head violently like a drum. No, I didn't tell anyone. Then how did this get out? Ethan pressed. It must have been Haley, Lily said quickly. She knows about us. She must have told everyone. That's impossible, Ethan muttered, frowning. He didn't believe I could have known about their past. Could it be that Lily was deliberately framing me? The idea made him pause and look at her suspiciously. Lily's guilty heart skipped a beat. Seeing Ethan's doubtful eyes made her nervous. She couldn't meet his gaze. Trying to hide her panic, she stood up and poured him a glass of water. Ethan, here, drink some. He had been searching for me all day, hungry, tired, and parched. He accepted the cup and downed the water in a few gulps. His stomach was empty and aching. He was about to cook himself a bowl of noodles when he suddenly froze. Something didn't feel right. Everything around Ethan Walker began to warp and blur. His head felt heavy, his vision spinning. The bruised and swollen Lily Evans standing before him looked strangely alluring that night. Unexplainably so. Before he realized it, Ethan lost control. He lunged forward and pulled her into his arms. At 2:00 in the morning, I arrived at our wedding house, accompanied by my department head and a few close colleagues from the hospital. My eyes were red and swollen from crying as I fumbled with the key. The moment the door opened, strange sounds drifted out from inside, sounds that everyone heard clearly. Faces changed instantly. I rushed ahead, flipped on the lights, and kicked open the master bedroom door. The scene that met our eyes stunned everyone. I screamed, a piercing cry that echoed through the night. Neighbors from nearby buildings, awakened by the noise, threw on their coats and hurried over. On the bed, tangled together, were Ethan Walker and Lily Evans, both naked, holding each other. They woke up startled by the commotion. Ethan shot up in shock. What are you all doing here? He stammered. Then he realized Lily was completely unclothed in his arms. His face went pale. With a horrified yell, he shoved her away. Lily fell hard to the floor with a thud. No, it's not what it looks like. Ethan tried to explain desperately, but at that moment, no amount of words could save him. I broke down sobbing, wailing uncontrollably, while everyone around us whispered and pointed. This is outrageous. I thought the rumors weren't true, but to catch them in the act, what a disgrace. Shameless. Absolutely shameless. The crowd's disgust filled the room. Soon after, security and officials arrived. Both Ethan and Lily were tied up and taken away. I covered my face and cried, tears streaming down. But inside, I was smiling. Finally, it was their turn to experience the pain I had lived through in my previous life. The scandal caused a storm. The leaders conducted an official investigation and interrogation. Ethan tried his best to deny everything, but this wasn't something he could explain away. They had been caught in bed together. He shouted that he'd been framed, that someone had set him up. In response, the superiors sent another team to our wedding house to conduct a full search. Of course, they found nothing. How could they? I had planned everything. I knew they would come back to that house. I knew they would drink water before bed. so I had slipped something into the kettle beforehand. And the moment Ethan and Lily were taken away, I returned quietly and washed the kettle and the cups until there wasn't a trace left. There would be no evidence. Even if Ethan began to suspect something, he had no way to defend himself. He continued shouting that he'd been wronged, but Lily was different. Fear and panic broke her completely. Under pressure, she confessed everything. She admitted faking her illness to get Ethan's sympathy, admitted moving in just to make him take care of her, and even confessed that she wanted to marry him. The outcome was obvious. Engaging in an illicit relationship was a grave offense. Ethan Walker and Lily Evans were both sentenced to labor reform in the countryside. Finally, they got to experience the living hell I had endured in my previous life. By day, they were forced to do backbreaking labor in the fields. By night, they were dragged onto a stage to undergo public thought reform sessions, just like I had once suffered. But their torment was even worse than mine. After all, my punishment in the last life had been for something I never did. Theirs was real. For their shameless behavior, they were despised as moral degenerates. Ethan was beaten every few days, and Lily's suffering went beyond mere physical pain. She had been stripped naked. At night, the lonely old bachelors of the village would sneak up and bang on Lily Evans's door. At first, she resisted, but later, she gave in, accepting her fate, and started sleeping with them in exchange for scraps of food to fill her stomach. 6 months later, I joined a medical relief team visiting the rural reform camps. That's when I saw Lily again. A broken shoe hung around her neck. She was completely naked, her body caked with dirt. Rotten vegetable leaves, pebbles, and clumps of mud were being hurled at her mercilessly. She stumbled and fell, only to be yanked up again like a puppet on strings. When her dull eyes caught sight of me sitting in the jeep, something in them flickered to life, wild, hateful light. She screamed hysterically, "It was you! It was you, you did this to me!" Lily lunged toward me, but she didn't get far. Before she could even reach the vehicle, she was dragged back and beaten violently. Her screams echoed behind me as I turned away, my face expressionless. The mission ended, and on the final day before our return, Ethan Walker came to find me. He was thinner, darker, his body worn down by hardship. "Haley," he said hoarsely, trying to get closer to me, "I need to talk to you." "Talk?" I scoffed, looking at him with a mocking smile. He trembled, struggling to explain. "It wasn't what you think. Lily and we had something once, but it's over. I swear, the only woman I ever wanted to marry was you. I was just trying to help her, but she used me, that shameless woman." His teeth clenched, his face twisted with anger. "That woman, she's vile, ungrateful, filthy. She deserves to die. Haley, you have to believe me." "So what if I believe you?" I asked coldly. "Please," he pleaded, "can you help me? Speak to the officials for me. Get me out of here." I looked him up and down. "Where would you go?" "I want to be with you," he said eagerly. "Haley, help me leave this place. Once I'm free, we'll get married immediately. I swear I'll treat you right for the rest of my life." A laugh escaped me. "You really think I'd still marry you? Maybe you should find a mirror before you start talking about forever." Ethan's lips quivered. "No, you loved me. You said, we." "Shut up." My voice cut through his stammering like ice. "Don't you dare say the word love. It makes me sick." "Haley, I was tricked," he shouted, desperate. "Lily set me up. She's a conniving, disgusting woman. I should have never." I laughed softly, interrupting him. "You're wrong. Lily didn't set you up." Ethan froze. "Then who did?" I smiled faintly. "The one standing right in front of you." His eyes widened in disbelief. "You? It was you?" "Of course it was," I said evenly. "Why else do you think I did all this? To get even, Ethan. You destroyed me in my last life. This time it's your turn." Ethan's face twisted with rage. "You'll pay for this, Haley. I'll report you. I'll make sure everyone knows what you did." I turned and started to walk away. "Go ahead," I said over my shoulder. "The only problem is, you won't live long enough to get the chance." Then I looked back at him with a bright, cold smile. "Oh, I almost forgot to tell you. I'm getting married. The ceremony's next month on the 8th. He stared at me, speechless. "The groom," I added sweetly, "is your superior, Commander Hughes. You know him, don't you?" Ethan's eyes went wide with shock. "That's impossible." "You and Commander Hughes? That's impossible." Ethan Walker's eyes widened, disbelief twisting his face. "You're lying to me, right?" You have to be lying. You loved me so much. How could you do this? How could you abandon me? How could you marry someone else? I didn't respond. I simply turned and started walking toward the Jeep parked nearby. Ethan stumbled after me, shouting, "Haley, you owe me an explanation. Tell me the truth." He reached out to grab my wrist, but before his hand could touch me, someone shoved him hard to the ground. Ethan looked up in shock and froze when he saw who it was. One of Commander Hughes's personal guards, the man who never left his side. And now, that same man was with me. Ethan's face went slack as realization dawned. Everything I'd said was true. I really was going to marry Commander Hughes. He crumpled to the ground like a deflated balloon, whispering to himself in disbelief. Why? Why? Why is this happening? No one answered him, but deep down, Ethan already knew. His life was over. There would be no redemption, not in this lifetime.